Hey everybody, it is some 20 point Tuesdays. Let's do this right here as I hiccup. The first questions are right here. Finally got some time to come see these lives. Brennan, that is awesome. Good to have you here, Brennan, and Jake, and Parker. I am loading up the 474 assignment as we speak. If you have questions, feel free to ask, and we'll work on those questions. We are loading up the 474 assignment. Let's do this. Here we go. We got it up. We're going to hop over here. We're going to do a quick transition over to the main screen. There we go. We're on the main screen now. Here we are. We've got the assignment due tonight. What's up, Campbell? Good to have you here, Campbell. So good to have you. We got a whole bunch of new intros and everything. Does anyone want to see the new Stats 101 intro? I was showing it to class. Here we go. This is for Stats 101 for their project. You ready? Everything is fine. That's for Stats 101. Have a little bit of fun here. Get started off. Get ready to go. Get ready for some assignment right here. I think Jake and Parker are wondering about homework question 2 and 4. Thank you, Campbell. I'm glad you enjoyed it right there. We'll watch some fun stuff right here. My hair's just getting longer and longer as time goes on. I'll never get it cut again. Never. Come back like 2 years from now. I just got long hair. So, not that I don't have long hair now. This is like, I keep looking at it and I'm like, I guess my hair usually isn't this long. Is that gray hair? I might have some gray hairs back there. Sorry, I'm looking. Just making a mullet. It will, but we have to have a little green chaos for Halloween. A little green chaos for Halloween. So, for question number 2 right here, we're dealing with a for loop. And the for loop wants us to do a time series kind of vector right here. And so here's a big thing. A lot of people have been confused on this in 474. I just want to mention a different way of doing this problem. This is not the way to do it. A lot of people have asked about this. We have here the first 3 elements, and then we can see what happens with the loop right here. But we need to identify the 3 parts to a for loop. What are the 3 parts to a for loop? What are the 3 parts to a for loop? Every for loop has this, this, this. Every for loop has these 3 things. Put some hashtags here for them here. Every for loop has a skeleton, has the code that repeats. Nice job right there, Brandon, 100 points. Every for loop has a variable. Nice job, Parker. And every for loop has a vector. So you can see right here, here's where the variable will go. And here's where the vector will go. And actually, here's where our code will go. That's the skeleton. And the skeleton's just right up there as is. The skeleton's already written for you. We can do Control-Shift-C. I should never have deleted that. If I didn't delete this, you can do Control-Shift-C to block comment stuff out. It's really nice. Just Control-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C block comment. So it's just a quick trick to comment on comment stuff. That's not code, so that goes away. So what we have right here is we have most of the work done, and I might just leave it at this, but if you notice, here's where the skeleton went. This is the skeleton, which is the code that just repeats. And now we have a variable inside of here. The variable is going to be t. I might just do this one. I might just do it. So the variable is going to be t. The skeleton is this. Let's expand the screen. And the vector, what variables does it, what elements does it go through? It's going to go through 4 through 20. If you can see right here, t is going to take on the values of 4 through 20 to predict the next 17 days. Now, don't worry, it's just that vector right there or written in code. So we have to know how to write the vector in code. So written in code, it's 4 through 20, not 4-20. Just the more you read it right there. You could call this variable. I wouldn't, but it's t. Now this should run. Good, it ran. I was like, it should run. And then a lot of people have said to me, wait, Brian, my code keeps repeating 11. It's because of the way this is rounded right here. If you add in, which don't do this, but if you do this right here, and actually we need to reset the loop. There we go. So now this won't kind of degenerate into printing 11 constantly. And what does this second argument right here do? If you notice, we're rounding this equation right here. So this equation right here is being rounded to the second decimal. By default, it gets rounded, I believe, to 0 decimals, hence why we lose all the decimals. And it kind of just goes to 11 because after a while, the sequence kind of flattens out. And we should be able to also see this, not as quick of a flattening. If we go here to plot, and there it is right there. So if you see, it does like flatten out. Just generally speaking, it starts averaging the sequences and creates kind of this kind of time series plot right here. We could extend out the sequence even further and do it to 200, and you're just going to see it. And let's go here to plot. This does a time series plot. We were talking about, so you can see right there, it just flattens out. You can also look at the series of numbers. It's probably just going to go to like 11 or so. It goes to 12.35. Well, let's carry more decimals. It's just kind of fun to see what you get with these right here. If you notice, it does eventually reach a stable point. We lose enough information by carrying over so many decimals each time, or by doing this equation here, which uses the previous point. Just to once again talk about what this code is doing, like purposely what this code is doing, is it's taking the element before and taking 50% of that element before, and then taking the square root of 2 elements before, and then taking 2 plus the log, or excuse me, taking the log of 2 plus the third element before that, and this rounds it to 5. Does everyone understand what this round equation is doing? We're basically rounding this right here. That's what we're rounding it, and this is how many decimals. And as you are doing in your assignment, this has no argument there, so it's the default, so you get a bunch of 11s. So you look at the difference between these plots right here. It's just that when you carry over more decimals, you'll get a more consistent plot. And don't worry, yours is meant to be like this. It's meant to repeat 11. It's not the best predictions we can ever make, but it's kind of doing that really quick. For our project, we are allowed to use personal pronouns, right? Yep, that's fine. And that's one thing, definitely you always tailor it to the business. And so one thing I've found when I work with business people, this is personal experience, it's going to vary. So if you work in a business where they say, don't do that, that's not how we write our reports, you don't do that. You should be professional, but, I use like we sometimes, or I believe this. Like if I go to a meeting or something, I might say, I believe this is what we should do. When I'm working on things for our department, I'll say, I. So, I work for a business. I work for the University of Tennessee. So, I have to run things and do things. People, especially in the modern world, care more about being professional and being courteous. Put it this way, I've never had to do anything. And what is it? What's that? What is the MLA format? What is it? I don't know. I haven't written in that in so long, since I had to write in that in high school. If you guys and gals know what I'm talking about, when you have to write papers in such and such format, I never had to do that. People are like, they want, what businesses want? They want a report that is quick and easy to read and is very hits all the points. So businesses care more about does this communicate effectively what the problem is, what you found, and what the solution is. So Gigi, did you hear those 3 things right there? That's your executive summary, basically. What is the problem we're currently dealing with? What did you find? And what is the solution to the problem we're currently dealing with? So, yep. So think about that. You're just like, here's my executive summary. Here's what we're dealing with. Here's what I found. Here's what we're going to do about it. Boom. Then it's like, and I think what's confusing to people is the executive summary is a summary of the whole report. It's not an introduction. I think that's the confusion, to be like, in this report, I'll be doing such and such. No, the executive summary is the whole report. It's everything condensed into it. It's like when you get those Gatorade packs and they're like a whole Gatorade bottle, but you know what I'm talking about? Like runners here and everyone who's ever had those Gatorade packs that are just like the squeeze ones. That's the executive summary. Like the 64-ounce bottle of Gatorade, that's the report. But if you want it condensed, that's the executive summary. It's okay if we offer more solutions in our future research. So I was actually just having a talk with this to the Stat 1 coordinator, which I'm not anymore. So the big thing, well, no, I'll say this publicly, because and we talk and we make sure everything is cohesive message between what I'm saying, what other people are saying. What the graders are going to be informed to do is to grade the outros a little bit lightly. Like the executive summaries are going to be super important. You hit you make sure that is the whole report condensed, tells the problem, gives the results that you found, and lists the solution. You need those things because that needs to be the whole report in one paragraph. I know it sounds crazy, but it's an executive summary for a reason. You put this on their desk and they're like, let me read it. Okay, maybe I'll look into further details of what they found. It's a whole summary. It's a synopsis of what you did. So when you get to the outro, they're going to grade that a little bit more lightly. That's going to be our thing to the graders, is okay, be a little nicer on the outro. But one thing they really need in the outro, because it does say you can go back through results, which then I said don't go back through results. So Terry and I were talking about that earlier. But the one thing we're going to make sure you really do in the outro, it's very important that you go into new ideas. You have to think beyond the current report. Does that make sense, Gigi? With the outro, don't be confined to what was done, and don't be confined to solutions to current problems. So, think about as though you actually work for this salon. Does that make sense? Like, don't think about like, okay, with what we currently know, we can do this, because that's going to go in the executive summary. Because like, okay, we found this. Um, exactly. Like, see, I'm too afraid to say things because I could come up with a billion ideas. I could be like, what if we were someone who's even, I don't want to say it. They're talking about like offerings, like you ever go to like a salon, it says like if you want to tip 10% or 15%, like shows you the amount. It's like, oh, if you tip, and then it might even have a round up button, like all these different ideas right here. And one thing, I would say is we don't know if those are good or bad ideas till we test them out, till we get data on it. So we could collect data on things like, is suggesting tips to people, does that help? Like if we suggest tips to people, and if the computer's smart enough, we could suggest a tip that's a little over what they usually tip. Like if you write an algorithm to be like, this person usually tips $2.50, let's suggest to them that they tip $3. You might be able to somehow like, it could have like a $2 or $3 button. And so looking into these ideas right here, like making business decisions about like, because you think your hair salon, I mean, imagine this. If you could make $200 an hour cutting hair, and so $200 an hour, I think, because every $10 is $20,000. So that'd be $200,000 a year working 40 hours a week. That's like the quick math you can do. If you don't know the quick conversion, is every, oh, did I do the math wrong? Is every $10 is 200? So would that be, or 20,000? Would that be $400,000 a year if you make $200 an hour? That'd be amazing. Either way, you're making pretty good money if you're making $200 an hour. And with that, if you could get hair salon stylists that could make that kind of money, you'd have some of the top premier hair salon stylists. So your tip money the tip money at your salon is going to be connected to the your stylists and how much they are working and how happy they are at your salon. Because I'm sure if you look at the salon business, there's obviously better and worse hair cutters. So you want to keep your hairstylists happy, keep them with good tips, bring in more clientele. And yeah, and there's a lot of aspects to this. There's a lot of working parts. Does this all make sense, Gigi, as we kind of think over this as a business problem, that if we, as the owner of the salon, can't bring in customers, our customers are not tipping, we're going to lose our good hair salon stylists. And then so looking at it from the business aspect, it's like, okay, well, why do tips matter to us if we own the business? It's like saying, well, why would restaurant tips matter to a restaurant if the restaurant, actually makes money from the food? Well, the waiters and waitresses are going to be a component, and their happiness at the restaurant, and also tips are connected to sales. So many working parts. And just thinking about this, like what you could do or what variables you could analyze, like what makes people happy at the salon, and is happiness connected to tips? Like that's another variable there. Like, could we somehow say, and sometimes people, this is my last thing I'll say on this, and we'll hop back to the 474 here. But we can talk about like a proxy variable, like happiness might be connected to how much people tip. Because if someone's very happy with their haircut, which I haven't gotten in forever, if someone's very happy with their haircut, then, or even just being in the salon, like their salon visit, we can say the happiness of their salon visit, like when you fill out a comment card. So wait, why aren't we having these people fill out comment cards? Okay, no, everyone's going to suggest that now. Everyone's going to suggest, and maybe people don't want to fill out comment cards. Like, you get your haircut and they're like, hey, can you fill out this comment card? And you're like, no, I want to go. So you have to think about these things. You have to test these ideas out and be like, what would be a good idea? And just even thinking up the ideas is kind of what businesses want. When you look at what a business wants, is they want someone who's going to come in, one, work with the current data, and then also bring new ideas and kind of, help push them forward, because everyone's trying to, win over more business, to do better. And it's like, you can't just do what you're currently doing. You have to think up new ideas and be willing to step out of the box and be like, okay, I've got this idea. So that's what we're trying to instill in you. How will we increase the business? Any other last questions about 201? 201 moment here, but no, feel free. And I'm probably going to do some chapter 5 after, if people don't have questions. We're going to do question 4, which I kind of just did question 2 for 474. Great questions, Gigi. Thank you so much, Gigi. 100 points for being here. Really appreciate it. Question 4. Is this question 4? Oh, no. Did I write question 3 in that update? Which one? You're welcome, Gigi. Of course, anytime. Parker, was it question 4 you wanted to talk about right here? Question 4. And I think this one says, does it switch between GPA and ACT? Because I write question 3 it does, doesn't it? So it says, sorry for the confusion on this. This doesn't have much to do with homework, but I mean to ask if you're allowed to work on the quiz if you miss class on that day. Which one, Luke? Which class, Luke? You might remind me, is it 474? Is it 474? I can't remember. It'll tell me which. 474. You should be able, if it's open, you can work on it. If it's open, you can work on it. It's just a lot easier if you're in class. So as long as it's open, you can work on it. And we pretty much cover it in class and help you through it with class. So with 474 right here, great question, Luke, 100 points. Thank you for asking. With this question right here, and I need to change it so it's just question 3, there is a typo. Either one is fine. You can use GPA or ACT. Please tell me if the graders count it wrong. I just sent an email to the graders and I said question 3. Whoops, typo within a typo. But either way is fine because the question has a typo. So realize that it's completely fine right here. So load in the education data frame. So one thing you have to make sure you do before this is you run library reg class, which I usually have running, and it didn't run anything, so library reg class is running. That's not an error, it's just that library reg class is currently here, and now the data education is here. As long as education runs, you are good, meaning the data set has been loaded in. So we have here that we're getting the unique languages. And so the unique languages are languages 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's how many languages people speak. So when we think about this right here, we want to create a subset. I'm gonna show everyone a trick here. I've been not doing this problem for a while. I don't want to do this problem fully. So we need to make a subset. And let's say we were to subset on something like, let's go to the education data frame. Let's say we were to subset on what school someone went to. So we'd go here to subset, education, and then we put in the condition. So we're subsetting the education data frame, and we go here to school, and we go to public. Now we should have just the people who went to public school right here, and we confirm this by going here to sub, and we didn't do it. Dun dun dun. Oh, I have been doing that so much lately. Always look to see what your subset is in size to see if it worked. And we've now created a subset here, and we can change it to private, and it should be 122. There we go, 122. Because it's either people go to private or public. Those are the only two options. There's no homeschool on here. It's just how we listed it. And so now we've made our subset. If we want to analyze some variable for the subset, like how many job hours people work, that's probably pretty interesting. Let's look at how many hours people work at a job. So here's the job hours this subset works, or we could change this over to public right here, and here's the job hours this subset works. Let's say we want to look at the median of it, and I'll do NA remove equals true, just in case there are NAs. And there's for the public, and here's the private. And wow, yeah, there's a difference. That's kind of what I thought I'd see. So if you look at this, there's a big difference between the amount of hours private school students work and public school students work for the 50th percentile. Now we can take this code, and what have we written right here? I need help. I need help right here. What have we written? What have we written? We have written the what. What did we just write? Because I can change this right here. The skeleton, Jake, right on. So we're going to go here. We're going to write 4. We're going to put this inside of it. And then we're going to reformat our code. There we go. That's edit reformat lines, where reformat lines is the quick key is Control-I. So code reindent lines. Dr. Petrie showed me that like a year ago, and I was like, what? You can reformat or reindent the lines? Cool. And so now we have the variable, which is going to be school. Be careful. You have to, let's go school type. Be careful naming it something really close to what the other variable is. I've seen people name it like pet and pet. That's where it can get kind of confusing. It might help to name it something a good bit different and use extreme capitalization to kind of separate out what the variable is. So you can see like, okay, that's that, that's that. You want to make sure you see where the variable is that's going to change throughout this. How do I know this was the variable? Because when I run this right here, I'm just changing it to change the data set it's working on. So this is what needs to change right here as the code runs. We need to change from 1 to the other, and then it'll run. So now all I'm going to do right here is I'm going to put in the levels. Will it work? This might work too. A lot like your problem. Oops, didn't show the end. Oh, I didn't store it anywhere. Haha. And that worked. Let's go and call this median hours by school. I didn't store my answer anywhere. And now this will go into position, can't see it. This will go into position school type right here. And now, oh, it's 0 length vector, that's fine. So it's not being used. There we go. That's got it. And unique worked. Unique finds all the unique values in a vector. And so it works the same as levels. You can use unique instead of levels because it'll just get you all the unique values. So if you look at what I'm doing right here, when this for loop runs the first time, it ran with private, and then it ran the code here, stored it into position private. Here's a trick. You can do as.character right here. Please note that this is just wrapping around the screen. That's not another line. I did not hit enter. I think that's caused confusion. And I want to show you this right here, because if you have a number right here, you can, so this is, if anyone's done this code, have you done this one yet, Jake? Because if you've done this code right here, you can do as.character and you can store it as a position name. So if you do as.character around that portion of where you store it, it will store it as a position name right there. Like you'll get a named position. You'll get like 1 here if you're using a numeric. So you can do the as.character and that'll store into the position name right there. It's so funny, these things that I used to spend like an hour looking up how to do. Now I'm like, oh, if I want to do this, I do this. Not yet. Could that be used for problem 3 as well? I think so, right? What does problem 3 ask us to do again? Is it average GPA by pet? So with the average GPA by pet, which is very, very similar to what I've done here, both of these are very similar questions. With the average GPA by pet, you wouldn't need to do as.character because this is going to be something like pet right here. This is going to be pet. This will be pet. See, this is where it gets confusing because I have capital pet. Is it high school GPA? We'll find out. And I think that's got it. No. Oh. There we go. Not that that's the answer. There we go. Not that that's the answer. I'm not saying that's the answer. But, you know, there we go. If you notice what I did first is I did the unique levels of GPA, and that was a horrible idea. Something in my eye. So the first time I did it, I did unique levels of GPA, and that did all the levels of GPA. So the vector went through all, and I just was like, oops, I don't want that to be unique GPA. I want that to be unique levels of pet. So unique works. It works the exact same way as levels does. So if you notice, the answers right here are the same, confirming. You could also go, and since this is GPA, you could just take, and I always hit that button. I always do that. I do like the massive zoom out button, and that's the graphics error. So that's got it right here. That's got it right here. Does that make sense? How's everything looking? You can also choose how you report the vector. Like if you wanted to put neither first, because that kind of makes sense, and then dogs, then cats. Wait. Neither goes first, then dog, then cat, then both. So you can, graphics error. One of these days, if someone tells me how to fix the Duke try catch word because of the graphics thing, then, because it's not really an error. Like all that red text is just saying like your graphics state is invalid. And I'm like, whatever, it's always invalid. So you can choose ways. And please tell me if you think the graders take off points when they shouldn't. Sometimes if you do something unique, you know, they'll get mad and they'll be like, what? So who else has questions? Who has questions? Let me hop to my other screen on these 20-point Tuesdays. Let's do it right here. Okay. Let's look at a little 201 because they have an assignment due tonight. Also, they have chapter 5, part 2. And is not something you want to forget about. Chapter 5, part 2 is a pretty tough chapter because it's something people haven't done before. It's not super tough if you know how to do it. And now yesterday I was failing at it miserably. You guys, 320 and 474, you should have saw it. I probably got like an 80 if I'm lucky. I kept reading problems wrong. I kept looking at the wrong way of doing it. I was waiting for someone to be like, can you solve these problems? One of my first semesters teaching a decade ago, a student looked at me and said, do you know how to solve this? And I was like, I felt like that yesterday. And if you make a mistake, you just start to make more mistakes. I'm sure someone's with me on this, that if you make a mistake, like when you make an error, it's like you then start to like overthink it and you start making more errors and you just like make an error after an error after an error. Like, oh my God. So let's go here and let's do as many of these 2-1 problems as we can. And let's show my Pearson what's up right here. Let's show my Pearson what's happening. So let me pull up David M. Lane. And so we're going to pull up the David M. Lane applet. And we're going to pull up, this is where someone's like, this is a recorded video. He didn't actually solve all these questions. How many can we get done here in the last 34 minutes of office hours? We'll see. If you have questions, feel free to ask. So let's see here. Let's hop back to the main screen on these 20-point Tuesdays. Let's do some questions right here. Wubba lubba dub dub, this is happening. You ready? Here we go. So this question right here gives us data. Now, one thing I want to make sure that's very clear about using the normal curve is the data needs to be normal. So let's see if this data is normal right here by first figuring out the z-score for 4.12. Well, that's the standard deviation. Already got a mistake in here. We're going to figure out the z-score for 99.68. Now, you can round these numbers. You can round this to 104. You can round this to 4. And you can round this to 100. How far away is 100 from 104? It's one standard deviation below it, making it a z-score of -1. So with a z-score of -1, let's plot it right here. What we know is that 68, I even got this wrong. I said like I had the wrong number. I know 68, 95, 99.7. I promise you that. But then I did a wrong number on it. We have right here, what percent of times are less than this? So remember, it's one standard deviation below because we rounded it to 104. And this was 100. And a standard deviation was 4. So if you're wondering how we figured this out right here, those were the numbers. You can round them because it'll always be an even amount of standard deviations. Like it'll always go into it evenly. There won't be a remainder. So it wants to know the percent of area below. Does anyone watching know the percent of area right here on the outside? Because yesterday I made an error on this. If there's 68% inside, which there is, so there's 68% inside, that leaves 32% total on the outside. If 32% total is on the outside, that leaves 16 down there. So this is according to the empirical rule, and I believe that's what the question is asking. The question wants to know, according to the empirical rule, if the normal was appropriate, what percent of times will be less than this? So we take a deep breath and we write 16. What is the actual percent of time less than 99.68? 99.68 is going to be right here. So if you notice, 99.68 would be right here. How do I know that? It's between these numbers, and they're in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times or less than that. That's 5 out of 53. So with 5 out of 53, that's 9.4 times, 9.4%. So that's the percent of time that are less than it. Do these percentages agree? They're kind of close, but they're not close enough, meaning the normal model is not appropriate, as in we should not use the normal model for this data. And you'll see with the histogram in a moment, the data won't look normal enough. So let's say no, because the normal model is not appropriate. I got that one wrong yesterday because I said it and then I said it wrong. And then we go right here, make a histogram of the data. Now this one you can use jump on, but we can also deduce it. If you notice right here, we have some times around 98 and we have times all the way up to 115. So we don't have times as high as 122. Yeah, well, I think this is the only one that makes sense then. If you just look at it right here, we don't have a time going up to 122, and this goes up to 122, this goes up to 122, and behind my head, that has a bunch of times around 122. The highest times right here look to be around 115, and you can see that it has a right skew to it. So the data is not normal and skewed to the right. 100. I don't know why I was like freaking out. I was like, we got this. You ready? Let's do the next one right here. This one right here is a very similar question that's asking about football players' times. So according to the normal model, running back yards, what percent of receivers would you expect to gain fewer than 2 standard deviations below the mean? So we can draw this one out graphically right here. Let's draw out 2 standard deviations below the mean. And we go right here and we draw a curve. And what do we do? -2 and 2. Now there's the context to this. I'm going to round the numbers here in a second. But we'd go 2 standard deviations below. And here's what we're going to get. 95%. In the middle, what does that leave outside? If 95% is inside, that's a total of 5% outside. If 5% is total, that leaves 2.5 in either one of these tails. We're just cutting that in half. And just practice doing this till you can just do it in your sleep. And here we go. The answer for this is 2.5%. So with the answer of 2.5%, there's our other curve. We can put that right here. And what do we see? In this data, think about this. If we were to go here to 439, let's bring up our calculator. We go to 439 and we subtract from it 364, and we subtract from it again 364. I've gone down 2 standard deviations. So 2 standard deviations below the mean would actually be the time or would be the amount of yardage of negative 289, which doesn't make sense. So this data is not well described by the normal model, and that's because the data is extremely skewed to the right, and we just got another 100. Awesome stuff right there. We did it. This one right here, if you have the David M. Lane applet, and a really good question I get asked a lot, is how would we do this on the test? Well, on the test, we might show you a picture. We got 115582, and I typed this in wrong yesterday also, because I'm good like that. And we have to click this button right here, 115582. I think I just didn't have enough coffee yesterday. And we want to find the highest 10%. I know what I'm doing. I swear I do. So we want to find the highest 10%. Let's double check the question to check Ryan. The highest 10%. Well, the highest 10% is also known as the 90th percentile. So if you look right here, the 90th percentile right here is the highest 10%. We can confirm this by going here and clicking the above, which we'll click now, and we can see it's in the same spot as where the 90th percentile is. So it's important to know that the percentiles go from lowest to highest on the curve, as in the 1th percentile, the 10th, the 20th, the 30th, the 40th, the 50th right here. That's the 50th. What would that be? That'd be the 84th percentile. Watch as we find out that that's very close to, right here, the 84th percentile, because that's where the top 16% is. Where would be the 97.5th percentile? Decent test question. Right there. It's very close to that. It's just that 1.96 is the z-score. We can confirm 1.96, classic number for statisticians, is the z-score for a 95% confidence interval, which is very close to 2. So when we want to get something like the top 10%, which we can go back in time right here and get, we can get the top 10% with the following, and we can copy paste the answer in. So here we are with the top 10%, 1 decimal place. What is the cutoff for the lowest 20%? Similar problem. We're just going to go here. We can do that, and we have the lowest 20%. So there is the lowest 20%. If you have a question, feel free to ask. I'm going to keep working some 201 problems, put this in a video for them. So if they need help, I think we're getting all. Sometimes the chat doesn't show up. We are good. If you have a question, feel free to ask. But I think this will help 201 for them to check out later. The cutoff for the middle 40%, same thing we got going on right here. Let's go here and do the middle 40%. So we'll do 40, and we'll do the between. So the way we can trick you on the test is we could show you graphics where we say like some really tough test questions we could ask, but it would all be using the graphics and using the knowledge from the graphics. So I do have some review videos up. Email me or go to the Test 1 playlist review, and there's some Chapter 5 review problems that show the graphics. It's probably the best example, probably the best utilization of time is to watch the review video and then ask questions, and I'll try to come up with more review questions. Cool, nice numbers. 1112, 1198. Okay, you can do this, Brian. That's got it, right? Everything's rounded? Yeah, we did it. Another problem done. Let's go right here and do the next problem. This is my favorite problem. Today I will not get anything wrong on it. We want the area greater than 1.7, and we want to go above 1.7. Here's the trick for this one. Watch this. If you take this problem right here, and we're going to put this over here on this screen, we're going to make it smaller right here, and you can watch how this problem is done. I think now you can see it. I'm going to have to shrink down too. Oh, let's just bring on Mini Brian. Brian Jr. That's not Brian Jr. Brian Jr. is over here. There we go. Brian Jr. is here. Okay. So now we're going to take this, not that, and we're going to put this right here for the time being. And here we go right here. So now what we're going to do is we are going to work these problems side by side along with this. So we see here that we are doing the area greater than 1.7. And on this curve right here, which I can make a little bigger now, we're using the standard normal curve. So this is the standard normal curve. I think I just need to maybe retype. Okay, let's reload the thing. There we go. This is the standard normal curve. The standard normal curve means it has a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. So you can see here a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. Now, as you go down these curves, you want to graph the area greater than 1.7. So let's go above 1.7. The answer is right there. It is 4.46. As long as we don't make a typo, we're good. We want the area less than 1.25. It's going to be like 95%. No. I need to stop. Okay, it's going to be about 90%. So less than 1.25. I was guessing them all yesterday. I was doing so horrible. It's really sad. See, I feel like I could guess this one. It's going to be like 89%. 89.44. See? Pretty close guess. It would not have probably accepted 89, but I've been close. 89.44. This is my redemption arc. The area between -1 and 1.05, well, that's going to be a little bit more than 68, because here's a number we know. We know between, and if you notice I'm just going down the buttons, we know that this is 68. So if we were to guess this one, we would say, well, then it's 69.8, 69.45. So we were very close. This is how we can kind of guess these and have a good idea based on the empirical rule, and this is how we can maybe test you on it. If you notice right here, I'm just doing the graphics, and did I select the graphic yet? I don't think I did. The graphic for this one would be, let me zoom out one time. The graphic for this one would be the between right here, and we have it. Then we want the area outside of 0.7. So the area outside of 0.7 is about 47%, 47.5. So the area outside of that is going to be outside of -0.7. See, there's going to be a typo. -0.7 and +0.7. And I said about, I think I said 47.8 or so. So it's 48.39 right here. And this is the area outside of it. And if you notice, my graphics match. I'm just make sure I have the right graphic. And I select that's the right graphic for less than. That's the right graphic greater than. Hold our breath. Of course, we got 100. Of course, we got 100. Thank you, Brian Jr. You have done a great job. There we go. We're back. We're back. I've got sound effects that I need to add on. I couldn't find them when I was looking for them. Next question. Oh, we did this downhill ski time one, right? Is on here twice? Oh, we don't need to do that one again. We make it a repeat question. Cool. That one we don't need to do. This one is the weights of steers. Didn't we already? Am I just going crazy, everybody? Is this the same weights of steers question? Yeah, it's weights of steers again. So that's the highest 10%. Does this one give you the IQR? Because that one people get stuck on. Well, that's the same question. Okay, here we go. And this one does the IQR for the weights of steers. I knew there was a different weights of steer one. So this one right here gives you the normal model of 1290, and it uses unique numbers. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to change this back over to here, and we're going to bring this over to the side. Don't do that. It didn't do it. Brian Jr., you're back on board right here. You can do it. Okay. So with this right here, let's take a look. We've got here the 62nd percentile. This button right here allows you to put in percents so you can then solve using the percentiles. Why do I know I have to go below? Because if I'm doing percentiles, we're going to do shading down, as in we're going to shade up to that point. So this is the 99th percentile. This is the first percentile. This is the 62nd percentile. And then we can go right here and we can enter in the mean and standard deviation. And we just take round to the nearest whole number, 1227. What is the 99th percentile? 1409. What is the IQR? The IQR is the what? Is anyone watching? How many people? Let me see how many people are watching. If this is like one, I'm going to like cry. 9 people. Can you work on BAS 320? Yeah, the first question, you got it, Tingen. So you got it. We'll stop here for 201 and 201. Come back if you have questions. We've just done a whole bunch right here. Which one are you wondering about, Tingen? Feel free to ask which question you want. It's all yours. The IQR is the middle 50% of this distribution. And for the middle 50%, we graph it. And we do the between, and we get the middle 50%. We take the two numbers, we subtract them. So we go, it doesn't matter which way we subtract, but usually we go big number minus small number. It's just the IQR is going to be positive. So 1260.704 minus 1139.296. And that's the IQR. And we round it to 121. Check the answers, and we got it. Feel free to drop a question in the chat, and I will work it. We will do the question. Here we are with questions about kindergartners. The first thing I'd do for this one is adjust all the curves. 39.2, 1.9. 39. Was there a specific question you had questions on? So you see I'm adjusting all the curves now, and we want the kids that are less than 33 inches tall. And so that's, wow, that's like nothing. Did I enter it in correct in the right way? I guess so. Round to, oh, then you have to times it by 100. So we can take this number, and I'm not making any errors today. I'm making sure I got this. Invalid input. Okay. 0.0006 times 100. So that's 0.06. Round to 1 decimal. Sure. That's about as small as a percentage you can get. And so that one's, it's very, yeah, it's off the edge of the curve. in what height interval should the company expect the middle 90%? So we have to put in the right numbers. That's key right here. And then we want to do the middle 90%. Feel free to choose a question from 320 and we will talk over any 320 question you want. Be like, this problem right here would be really great. Or I might just head over there and try to like talk some generalities with it. So these numbers right here, the more you understand what this curve is showing you and how to use it, and it wants to round to 1 decimal place right here. So we have to round these to 1 decimal place. The more you understand how to read this curve, the better you will be for the test. The biggest 20% is going to be, we could do it this way right here or this way. And here's the biggest 20% right here. And here's the biggest 20% right here. So it's the same answer if you look at it, because that's the highest 20 and this is the 80th percentile, which is the same answer. And we should be good. Yes. We've pretty much done over half the questions in this, and a lot of them are very similar. Question 1A, you got it. Let's do it. Question 1A, let's do it. Okay, let's hop back to the main screen right here. Brian Jr., flawless victory. Great job there. Let's hop back to the main screen. Let's do this on these 20-point Tuesdays. Okay, let's pull up question 1A for 320. How are you doing today, Ting Yang? How are you doing? We are getting some work done. We did some 474. We did some 201. Now we're going to do some 320. This is a good day. Good office hours when we can kind of do some work for everybody for each week right here. Cool. Okay, I think we got this. Let me look at the last question on here. I'm making sure we can get to all this. I think, okay, I'm just making sure. Looks like a longer assignment than it is, but it's a lot of like, not too big questions. Is my green screen being all weird again? I have to increase the light on my green screen. Okay, let's do this. Let's hop over here. Great, that's so great to hear. Good to hear that. Let's hop over to the main screen right here. Let's do this. Main screen time. Okay. So with this right here, let's take a look. We've got right here in question 1A, it's asking about, you're talking about this right here. This question in the book, and I can bring up the book here too, asks about relationships between certain variables. So it wants to know, and you can go to the modules section. I'll show this on the screen too. Under the modules, you should see the homework packet. So when you go to the homework packet, it'll open up the homework packet. We can download, we can run it, and we can go to question 1A, which asks about things like the color of a background versus time spent on a website. So when you get to these questions right here, here's what you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself the following. What explains what? So what explains what? So would the color of a background explain the color? Would the color of a background explain the time on the website, or would the time on the website explain the color of the background? What sounds to explain what? Would the color of the background explain somebody's time on a website, or would their time on a website explain the color of the background? What explains what? What do you think would explain what right here? What would explain what? What would explain what? So you have to be like, this explains this. And what might a company be interested in? Would a company be interested in the color of their backgrounds, or would they be interested in the time people spend on their websites? What sounds like an interest to the company? Would they be like, why are our backgrounds certain colors? Would they be like, why do people spend time on our websites? What sounds more like the why variable? The why is always the variable they're interested in. So you have to be like, why is this happening? Why, like why the website is a certain color, or why people spend time on the website. What sounds more like the why variable right here? Who knows? Any ideas? 201, 324, 74, 100 points on the line. Who knows right here? I guess I need to interrupt the intensity of that light. Maybe I moved it. Color of the background explains time on website. You are right. So what you could do is you could take this, and basically we're just doing some Garrett and Brennan. Great job right there. Time spent, exactly. So color of background explains, and since you're saying explains, and then you could say why. Like here, I would do something like this right here. Oh, really? Apparently, This right here makes the thumbs up symbol. That's weird. Sure. If you don't believe, I had to put a space. So, but apparently that does it. I had no idea. I don't know why they're doing that to us. So right here, color of background, which is X, color of background explains. I like to do explains right here. So X explains time on website Y. I think that makes it clear right here. So the color of the background explains. Let's think about a harder one right here. If you're a business, would you want to explain the weather or would you want to explain demand? Oh, shoot, that's not the way to do it. Sorry, my brain broke. If you're a business, would you say that weather explains demand or demand explains weather? Now, there's a truth that they flip-flop, but what sounds more, explain why is a good thing. Exactly. We want to explain why something is happening. Exactly. I know, right? Yeah. What sounds more like the Y and the X with weather and demand? What does the business want to understand and what would explain it? So I misspoke when I said something earlier. I'm not going to say it again. But what does the business want to understand? What is the Y variable of interest? So the why is like, why is this happening for the business? Would they be like, why is this weather happening? Or why is this demand happening? So what sounds more like a business question? Why is this demand happening? Or why is this weather happening? They're probably concerned about both. I mean, to a certain extent, but one of them is going to be more like, we want to understand and control for this one. And there's really only one you can control for. And so the business might be like, maybe, this will explain demand. Yeah, demand is the Y variable here. So in this example, is there any other ones that people have questions on here? But always ask yourself, when you say it out loud, be like, does this explain, and that's the X variable. So whatever you say, does weather explain, that makes it the X variable, why demand is happening. So think about it as that phrase, like does, and then you put here your X variable, explain why, here we'll do this. Does X explain why is happening? Phrase it to yourself this way. Does blank explain why blank is happening? So you've even got some Y's in there and you've got some X's. So that really helps, like, does weather explain why demand is happening? So that's kind of the relationship. Like, we're investigating does weather explain why demand is happening? On the other one, we're investigating, does color of the background explain why time of the website is happening, like the time on the website? What other ones do people have questions on 320? We haven't talked to any 320 today. What 320 questions are there? Surely more 320 questions. I can do more 201, more 320. This is your chance, 320. This is your chance. I want to check one thing about the 320 assignment. I'm going all the way down here at the end. It goes to the tips at the end. I know you mentioned it in class today, but can you go over to F? Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, this is your time. If I'm not answering a direct question from a student, I always find something to do. But this is your time to ask questions. If you don't see me working on something that someone's asked me to, and even if you see me working on something, be like, hey, Brian, could you do this next? And so you can always just shout out a question. You can just be like, hey, do this question. I'll be like, okay, cool. And then if I forget, just be like, Brian, you forgot about my question. I'll be like, I'm sorry. I forget things. Okay, cool. So this right here is the discrepancy between all expected and observed counts turns out to be this. So this is when you compute the discrepancy, which I think we still have the notes up for class. Computing the discrepancy is the observed minus the expected squared over expected. That's right. So you can see how all of these are computed right here. So you have to get all of your expected counts. You have to get the difference from the observed and the expecteds. You have to square it, and they have to divide by the expected. So this is how we get the discrepancy right here. Now, what we do with this discrepancy, which is basically visually, if we were to look at visually what is this discrepancy, the visualization of this discrepancy is here. The further away these boxes are from each other, the bigger the discrepancies. So the distances these boxes are away, which is not like the actual distance, but an aggregate of these distances is the discrepancy. So tell me, does the discrepancy look larger in graphic A or graphic B? Which one of these has a bigger discrepancy, graphic A or graphic B? Which of these has bigger discrepancies, graphic A or graphic B? I've heard, so you have time for storing the math equation in 1A? Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll do that next year, Brendan. You got it. We got 10 minutes. We can do this. We got this. You're right. The discrepancy looks bigger in this one, which means there's a stronger association. The bigger the discrepancy, the stronger the association. This is a very weak or non-existent association, where this one has a much stronger association. So take a look right here. Where somebody sits in the classroom related to their gender is a very weak, if non-existent association. Where somebody's dropped call experience is much more associated with their cell phone provider, as my cell phone goes off right there. So what do we see right here? Well, when we do all the discrepancies, when we figure out all the discrepancies, we get the sum of all the discrepancies. Like all the different like disconnects figure up to a sum. We sum them all up via the observed minus expected squared over expected, which is the cell chi-squared, if anyone kind of remembers that from the past. And we get this discrepancy value. So then we plot this discrepancy value here. Who knows what the p-value is for their 500 points for the week? Who knows what the p-value is on this graphic? On this graphic, you can easily tell me the p-value, because the p-value is the probability of our results or a result more extreme happening by random chance. These are all the random chance permutations. Garrett, your 500 points did a great job. It's 0. There are no random chance permutations as extreme or more extreme than our results. So let's take a look at the book question right here and see what it's missing. What are we missing when I go between the two of these right here? What am I missing between these two things right here? What does this have that this one doesn't have? What does this have that this one doesn't have? And I close out this other one and go between them and go like, what does this have? What is missing? What is missing on this homework question that we see in this one? As though when we show our results, can you tell me visually what it's missing? It's missing something. What is it missing? A big something's just. Well, we haven't found out the p-value yet, but here, wait. Boop. What's it missing now? What is the difference between this graphic right here? What is it missing? It's missing a plot of our result. Does that make sense? So it's missing the plot of our result right here. So it's missing the plot of our result. So let's grab this result right here. Does this make sense? We've grabbed the graphic, and it's priceless. Whoever told me I should do that was they're the winner of the semester. They won the semester. I don't know what they'll get as a grade, but they won the semester. So where am I putting this line? Can anyone tell me, like, down to decimal place accuracy, where I'm putting that line? Where did I put that line down to like 3 decimal place accuracy? Where did I put that line down to like 3 decimal place accuracy? Where am I putting my line on this graphic down to like 3 decimal place accuracy? Where are we putting that line down to like 3 decimal place accuracy? Exactly. That's where I'm plotting it. And then the p-value is the probability of our results or results more extreme happening by, and these are the random chance permutations. The random chance permutations are this whole entire curve right here. They're just random permutations that occur, where we see most of the random permutations being small. So how does this p-value look to you? How does this p-value look to you, large or small? Like, do you think I've shaded, imagine this is a pizza. I make some weird pizza right here that's shaped like this, and I say, here's your slice right here. This is your slice of the pizza. What percentage of the pizza did I give you? What percent of that pizza slice did I give you? That's your slice of the pizza right there. It's kind of like I just didn't give you the crust of the pizza, right? So what percent of the pizza? You're like, I'm cool with that. Just cut off the crust. Give me the pizza. I just realized that about this example. It does kind of look like a pizza slice. It kind of looks like you're cutting off the crust of the pizza slice. Because if you cut this off right here and you eat just the remainder portion of the pizza, then that's a pizza slice right there. So what percent of the pizza is shaded right now? Do people do that? Do people eat everything but the crust? You bet. And what does that mean? They've eaten probably like 80% of the pizza. If you look at this is a large portion of the pizza, maybe 90, maybe 85. Is it more than 5%? That's actually the number we care about, because to know if something is statistically significant, it would have to be less than, the p-value would have to be less than 0.05. Can anyone give me a value on this curve right now that if the discrepancy was this value, then we'd probably have a statistically significant result? Who can tell me a value on this curve that if we saw that value, this would be statistically significant? Who can give me a value on the curve that if we were like, oh, we saw this value, that would probably be statistically significant? would be a value on this curve, and then 10. Yeah, if we saw 10, perfect answer, Brendan. Great job following along. Then when we graph this right here, if we saw 10, then we'd go right here and we'd graph, and the p-value, that's less than 5%. We might say p-value, and I'm just doing a guesstimate of it. Like, this is just theoretical. Maybe that's the p-value right here. It's like, it's a very small p-value. It's like 1 in 1,000 occurrences occurred this high or higher due to random chance. So that would be a statistically significant p-value, and we would have results. Let's hop back to 474. We got just enough time because we can move class a little bit. I think, when is my next class? Is at 150. 150. We got this. We got this. I like talking about associations, and it's a fun topic. We're finally doing, like, we're out of coding, and we're just doing analytics now. We're just doing business analytics. So rejoice. Rejoice. Great questions right there, Ting Yang and everyone. And then do any hints for starting the sequence in 1A? 1A for 474. Da 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 da. Should just this one right here. So with this one right here, Brennan, so with this right here, we have to notice the patterns to it. We have to grab the skeleton. So we have to think about our skeleton right here, and what are we going to write for our skeleton? And I don't like calling that X1. I don't like calling that X1. You don't got to do that. So when you think about this right here, and I don't like using that, it's just different ways to solve the problem. What we have to identify first is we have to identify the 3 key things. You might want to send, are you on Discord, Brennan? You might send it to me via Discord and I can look at it. Because send me your skeleton right now. Send me your skeleton. Or you can send it via the chat right now. What is your current skeleton? Like, show the skeleton. Or you can send it to me via Discord, whatever you'd like. So the biggest thing here is going to be the skeleton. And I changed this. You can call it X1 if you want. I could, sure. Awesome. Great job, Brendan. Great job. I'm going to keep bumping the microphones. What I'm going to do. Oh, man. I think I want to get that second cup of coffee today. Second cup of coffee is where it's at. You know what I might do? No, I'll eat that for later. Second cup of coffee. Second cup of coffee, crew. Because yesterday I was so tired during 201, and I was like, I kept making mistakes, and I was just like, just like I said, you make one mistake, and then you're just like, and I was like, well, let's keep making mistakes. Let me see here. Let me debug this. Here, we'll talk about what's going on right here. So this is the whole loop. This is the whole entire thing right here. So remember, the skeleton's the inside of it, and we don't want the print inside of here. We don't want print inside of here because we don't want to print it off. Let's take a look. And then let's just see what happens right here. Let's see. We need to take this off of here. Let's just run it and see what happens. It's mad about something. What is it mad about? It looks like this isn't closed. Oh, it's just an extra parentheses on it. It's just mad an extra parentheses. Okay. So this right here is overwriting. So I see the problem. This right here is overwriting just what's in X. We need to store, and so make sure when you get your skeleton right here, we need to work with, I'll show you the difference and you should be able to see it. If you look, there's an issue with the skeleton right here, that this is the original, and then the skeleton is missing, and you can call this 1 right here. There's something missing, if you kind of notice what I'm talking about right here, and this kind of goes through a vector right here. Does that make sense, Brennan? If you see, this is, here, I'll put it right here. Yours, you have to like work on this. Like, I think you might, hopefully, is that Cyrus original? Sure. Kind of really highlighting where the difference is right now. I think that's got it. Yeah, I think you see it now. Yeah, that's, I want you to see where it's at. Like, this could, so no, this is not the right answer, and someone's going to hopefully not copy this and be like, oh, but if you, like at this point, if you see it, and you know exactly what to do. Like, if someone sees this and they're like, okay, I got to fix this. So there's something that needs to be changed in yours. Does that make sense, Brennan? And you can move. Yeah. And so remove the printout also, because you don't need to print every time. And you should have it. That's really good stuff. Great job, Brennan. Especially since we're in the online world, I'm like, well, I guess we have to do things like this sometimes, which I'm all right with. It's you know, I just know when we get to the tests and stuff that people are working really hard. It's going to show. It's just it's man, it's so different teaching online. Like I mean, I taught online for a long time, but coding online is a little bit different. Oh, that does. That's awesome, Brennan. Great job right there. Great job. You know what? Let's do one more 201 question. 201. We're gonna do one more question because we're gonna show my Pearson. Not today. We can do this question really easy. Let's bring out Brian Jr. Brian Jr. is actually the one who knows all about this right here. He knows every My Pearson question ever. Unless he doesn't have his applet. Because I closed the applet out. 2 seconds. Gotta bring up the applet. What if to end class, we need some hype right here. What if I did this question without the applet? What if I did this question right here, no applet? I get 3 tries at it. We're going no questions. We're going to show Brian Jr. what's up. This is for fun now. This is all 3 questions right here. No applet. And we're going to do this. Okay. So no applet. This is no applet solving the questions. So we need to go the percent of steers below 1200. Well, I'm going to find the z-score for 1200. So observation minus mean. It's going to be like 1.6 or so, hopefully. And observation minus mean. So 1200 minus 1109 to divide this. Okay, so this is the z-score for it. The z-score for 1200 is 1.5166. And that means the percentage is somewhere between 90 and 95%. I know the answer has to be that because I know numbers on the empirical roll. And it's going to be closer to 95, but it's going to be like 93.4. Let me think. 90 to 95 and 1.28. There we go. Steers have weights below 1050. Okay, so weights below 1050. Man, it's choosing hard numbers on the curve. So now we do observation minus mean divided by standard. Yes, yes, I'll take this. I'll take this. So it wants the steers below this. This is going to be right above 16%. I'll take that. Steers between 900 and 950. What are the z-scores for those? Knowing the z-scores really helps because then I can visualize it in my mind. Observation minus mean divided by standard deviation. Okay, that's basically off the edge of the curve. Cool, we're going off the edge of the curve. Oh, this is going to be a very small amount. So 950 minus observation minus mean over standard deviation, 2.65. Oh, great. I know it's below 2.65. No, 2.5758. Below 2.5758 is 0.005. So if this wants as a decimal, it's going to be like 0.4%. Oh, we got one wrong. It's got to be this one. It is this one. It is this one. Man. Oh, so close. Oh, so close. We would have aced the question. That's so sad. We would have had it. We would have gotten 100 without using the applet. No applet. Steers weights below 1200. Oh, we gotta be super close to it. We're not giving up. Is it really this high? Let me reevaluate again. We're getting 100 without the applet. No finished office hours. Observation minus mean divided by standard deviation. Okay, so... Oh, man, wait. No. An 80% confidence interval is a z-score of 1.2816. A 90% confidence interval is... So there has to be between 10 and 5%. So it's between 10 and 5%, 1.2818, 1.645. Does it really want it down to the exact decimal and that's how good I have to get it? Because it has to be right around here. It's got to be... Does it really want to like the exact decimal? I'm going to have to give up in a second here because it's so sad. It says above. It says above. That's why, because I can't read. There we go. What was my first guess? What was my first guess? Because there's a range on these. And if I had read above, it would have, I just want to see the range. I'm going to review this video to see if I would have gotten it first attempt, and I would have felt so good. See, there's such a nice range on this. I think I would have gotten it. I think I would have gotten it without the applet. You know what I got to do? I got 24 minutes before class. This is me having fun. You know what's sad is when, like, this is how you have fun, is like you just do these problems and you're like, I can do this. I can do this without the applet. All right, here we go. We're doing this without the applet. We're going to show it can be done. We got one try in us left. Here we go. That was question number 9. We can do this in, like, speed run this. Let's do this. Question number 9. No applet solve right here. We got this. You ready? Here we go, chat. Let's do this. I don't know if anyone's still watching. Or maybe that was my lucky try right there. Okay, so we're going to z-score the first thing, and we're going to go 950, and we're going to divide by this. So the z-score for this is 3.333, which is off the chart. So it steers above this. This is like 0.1%. It's close to 0. It's off the charts. Yeah, it's going to be like 0.1. It might even want 0 for that one. And then the percent of steers that have weights below this. So now that's the tough one. This is where we're going to get it wrong, because it's so close to the middle. That's where the percentages are the most different, because it's going to be a z-score of like 0.46 or something. There we go, 0.45, 0.46 basically. This one is so tough though. If I get this one, this is like the luckiest guess I've had in a while, because this is going to be like 60. I mean, it's not 68 because of the middle. It's going to be like 67 point. This one's the hardest one. And then steers between this and this. This one's going to be a little tough too. So we have to z-score the bottom thing. Observation minus mean divided by standard deviation. Okay, so that goes down to 2.57, basically 5.8. Yeah, okay, I know exactly where that goes to. So that's basically to the end of the curve. And then we have to go below observation minus mean divided by standard deviation. Okay, so we're going below 1. Below 1 is 16%, but this is a little less than 16%, so it's going to be closer to 15%. We're subtracting off 0.5%, so 14.6. If we get the middle one. Oof, we didn't get that one either. Yeah, the top one we got. Is it higher? Wow, I said I could do it. I should have taken my correct answers. Here, we'll show it visually, since we're going to end off stars here in a moment. Let's show it visually. Oh, we don't have the David M. Lane applet up. David M. Lane, we need your help. We need your help, David M. Lane. So this is steer weights between 1170 and 66. And let's put it over here on the side. And we're going between 1000 and 1100. And it's 14%. So that's 14%. We're close. It rounds and it has a little bit of plus or minus. And then this one right here was weights below 1200, as long as I typed everything correctly. And that's 67 point. No way. Wait, it didn't accept that? Did we get the top one wrong? Above 950. I think I did the z-score wrong. Wow, I can't read that top question. There we go. Oh my gosh. Can't read the question. Make sure you read the questions carefully. Going too quickly. I've lost everybody. But good times, good fun right here. Just kind of having some fun at the end, doing the questions, seeing, and I did the wrong side. I went below it and I did the z-score incorrectly. It's easy to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but you know what? Work on this, get better, practice, and I will talk to you later. Bye, everybody. Gonna pull up the outro screen. Let's do this.